Hi, this is Catherine Morgan from Point A to Point B Transitions, and I'm also the founder of the Depression Discussions, the conversations entrepreneurs need to have. Today, I'm so happy to share with you my dear friend, Sarah Thompson. I have known Sarah for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. I have hired Sarah. She is someone I fondly refer to as the money girl. She once told me that she dreams in spreadsheets, and I love that image. She is not afraid to dive into the money parts of someone's business and help them figure out how to maximize their revenue and profit. That said, she has also been on a brutal health journey, and we're going to talk today about how she managed her health and her business and what that was like. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Yay. I am so happy to have you on the Depression Discussions. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I spent 15 years in the soul-sucking world of corporate finance. And then when I couldn't do that anymore because I just hit bottom, I started my own consulting business 8 years ago.
And you work with what types of clients?
I work with entrepreneurs, creatives. That's really my focus, is to help creatives put some structure into their business and get out of their own way and charge what they're worth.
Yes. And structure and money and managing money and understanding cash flow and financials is probably something that doesn't immediately come to creatives.
Right, exactly. And the creatives that I work with usually actually create a thing. So I call them digital makers. So a lot of them are doing things like copywriting or creating a funnel that leads to a Facebook ads. Like there's a thing that you can see, a website that you can see when they're done with the project or the engagement with the client.
Okay, so some kind of tangible output.
Yeah, I do work with coaches and other people as well, but less so, more with people that are creating a thing. And that goes well with my background because I worked in manufacturing finance. So I saw the process of, fulfillment of an actual physical product. In this way, it's not just the sale, right? You have to also have the capacity to fulfill the product, the digital product.
Right. So last year, I think I could define it correctly that you really stepped into a shitstorm.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was supposed to be a little thing, and an easy cancer, the good cancer.
Right, just a lumpectomy, right. Back to work, not too much of a disruption.
No big deal, 6-week recovery, and then it turned into more than that. And each time that they did surgery, which I had 4 surgeries last year, each time they found more cancer. And so when they did find more cancer, then I went through chemotherapy.
And then big surgery.
Right, and then I had a double mastectomy.
Absolutely brutal. So you were constantly in surgery, recovering from surgery, getting ready for the next surgery for a year or more?
Yeah, it's been a year. May 22nd was when I was diagnosed, which also happened to be the anniversary of my marriage, my failed marriage. Oops. Kind of funny. Some of the dates, I'm fascinated by things that happen like certain dates, and the coincidences or whatever they are.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's not dive into that. That's
A
spooky.
whole nother story.
Yeah, that's a little spooky. Okay, so as a solo service provider and head of household, you had to manage your business through uneven health and energy issues and childcare issues. And how did you possibly do that?
I mean, for some period of time, I was functionally unable to work, right? I'm a consultant. I use my brain as, that's what I'm selling is my experience and my thinking. And I couldn't functionally think, right? Particularly when I was in chemotherapy, my brain didn't function the way, like my normal brain. I couldn't even process or organize. Like I am hyper organizer, right? I couldn't organize anything. I mean, I literally had to have my stepmother come over to pack a bag for me if I had to, like I had a go bag if I had to go to the hospital, because I was hospitalized 6 times during chemotherapy, twice with pneumonia and twice for a pulmonary embolism. So I was very sick during that whole process. I could not function, which is why as solopreneurs, if you are relying on yourself only to generate an income, you need to have reserves.
Yeah.
You need and you need to charge more so that you can take a percentage of what you're making and put them into reserves. And I'm not saying this to like make people scared that they're going to get diagnosed with cancer. You may never have that happen, and I hope you don't. But thinking that you can live right up to the edge and not have anything in reserves, not have a plan for what if, XYZ happens and I'm unable to work for 3 months. Functionally, it could not work.
It's frightening. I'm sure you know this, but a lot of Americans are 2 paychecks away from default. And I know personally a lot of entrepreneurs are living that close to the edge too. I'm sure you've seen that with some people you've worked with.
Exactly. So that doesn't cut it. Like living to the very edge doesn't cut it. And it doesn't cut it for your mental stability either. I mean, right. Most of the people that I work with that are really struggling financially are also struggling emotionally.
Okay. Correlation, self-worth, impostor syndrome, not understanding the marketplace, doing an ostrich, head in the sand about their financials.
All of that, beating themselves up for not being at a certain place that they think they should be at XYZ age. I have a client who isn't even 30 yet, and they are like beating themselves up for not being, a multimillionaire yet. And I'm like, you're not even 30. Like, what about me? I'm 46. Like, come on. Right? So a lot of self-hatred, abuse.
Despair. So we're talking comparison despair here. Mark Zuckerberg was a billionaire by my age, and I'm such a failure.
Exactly. And particularly for people that are, what I would consider high performers. And it's just brutal.
It is brutal. Back to your cancer journey for a minute. You opted to be very public about going through the process and your surgeries, and when you were feeling good, when you were feeling really terrible, when you went into the hospital for the pneumonia and the pulmonary embolisms. How do you feel about that on the other side? Would you do that again? Did you feel that being public got you some support, or was it invasive? How did that work out?
Oh, I would do it again, definitely. However, I will say that, you know, the impact to my business of being really upfront was that, I mean, I couldn't get clients for a period of time, partly because I couldn't even keep appointments.
Right.
Just like not me at all. But
Not you at all.
I keep appointments to the minute. Um, but I was just so sick that I had to, you know, I canceled a lot of appointments. So not everyone is in a financial position to be as public as I was. Not everyone is in the emotional position to be as public as I was, and I still am. Right? I had a certain stability where I could be that public. So that's part of why I was. Part of it was just because I needed to tell the story. It seemed like there was a couple of weeks after I got diagnosed where a couple of people in my life were like, "Oh, don't share this," and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't not share it because I figured, you know, sharing that would help people more than not sharing it.
I'm sure that you gave healing to a lot of people who are either going through it or supporting people who are going through it, that feeling of not being alone, which is exactly the reason I started the depression discussions. And speaking of depression and anxiety, you must have had bouts of that during this. I mean, it's not, I mean, I can't imagine that you didn't, given the tremendous ups and downs that you had with your health.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was that I was on steroids for 10 weeks, which anyone who's ever been on steroids for even a day can tell you it is crazy making, just being on steroids alone. So in order to combat the anxiety that steroids creates, I had to take anti-anxiety medication for the first time ever. Like, I'm not an anxious person, but I was when I was on steroids for 10 weeks. Yeah. So yes, that part of it was anxiety around my health and getting through all these really scary things. And then part of it was induced by the medication that I was on. So it was like double whammy. And let me tell you, being in the hospital multiple times, the hospital is not a calm and nurturing place. It is a zoo.
It's a zoo with constant beeping and buzzing, and you never get more than 2 hours of sleep because they're taking your blood, and the people don't think about that if you haven't spent any time in one.
Yeah, and also, you know, being with a roommate, the times that I were was really another whole challenge, right? Especially the times when I was hospitalized and on the oncology ward, because the roommates that I had were sort of even in worse shape than me, stage 4 cancer, and you know, it's not. And of course, you're talking to your roommate because there's nothing to do other than TV. So you know, it's not fun. Although I will say one thing that I noticed since I have been sharing my story is that I have had people come to me privately that were either going through possible diagnosis, like the first step obviously is having a biopsy, were about to get a biopsy, or had just gotten the results of a biopsy. And I have a friend, for example, that reached out to me that has just got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Ouch. That's a brutal one.
Yeah. So, you know, because I've been public about it, it sort of creates a space for people that maybe aren't able to be as public, or it helps them share more of their journey because they see that I did, right?
Well, I'm personally grateful that you did share your journey, because while I adore you, we're not, in email circle where I ever would have known about this.
Right.
And so, I was able to at least jump on a call with you sometimes when you needed somebody to, or at least, send you some Facebook love or funny videos or something. That sounds kind of lame, but you were asking for support. You're like, I'm having a crap day, send me cat memes.
Exactly. Exactly. So, using your support network, however awkward it might seem, that, somebody that you've never met. I mean, I had people that I've never met send me cards, send me, one person sent me a mug. Another person sent me one of their scarves.
Oh.
Like, a friend that I had from elementary school sent me like these cool homemade ice creams, different flavors, right?
Yum.
Like, yeah, like different things that just like that's huge when somebody is struggling or going through a health crisis or even a mental health crisis.
Right.
Getting, but the thing I think that we do is we think that people should know what we need, and we are frustrated that they don't.
Right.
And then we get really like, woe is me, but we're not asking for what we need. Like, I literally said on Facebook, I need people to send me presents.
Yep. I need to talk to someone who's around.
Yeah. I mean, like, whatever it was that I needed at that moment, I just asked for it. Like, oh, I really would love if people sent me, and I mean, honestly, like, we're not talking about like asking for somebody to send you a $500 present. It's like, okay, somebody sent me, a recycled vintage card. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That was amazing to get that in the mail.
Right. Beautiful.
So, asking for what you need is, and in life and business, actually asking for what you need.
That is a very good point. I heard someone say it once, it's hard to know, for example, if someone's going through grief or if someone's going through a major health issue. We who's, wants to support this person, we actually don't know what to say. We're not trained in this. I didn't get any manual on this. Right. So if someone's in deep depression or anxiety or health issues, and maybe the right thing to do is, how can I support you? Or what would support look like? Or, is there something that I can do to help you? Like, even just asking so that maybe somebody would tell you what you could do to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Asking is good. Also, just actually offering something, right? Because sometimes the person can't really figure out what it is they need. And if they're in a particular state of mind, they might not be able to think of. So just asking, what do you need? It's better than no contact, but better than even that is saying, hey, I can do XYZ, right?
Would it be helpful? Do you need some help sending your newsletter out because you're in brain fog? Do you
Exactly. Can I write a blog post for you? Right. Can I, on the business side, if it's local people, can I
drop off a casserole for you and your family so you don't have to think about cooking?
Exactly. If it's not a local person, can I send a meal? Can I, whatever it is, right? Can I send you, I don't know, like the friend that I have that got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer is having a difficult time eating. So one of the things that she can do that she's able to keep down is juice, like the juice boxes with the little straws.
Right.
So somebody sent her a box of juice boxes.
There you go. So even very, very small things could feel like big things to the person receiving them.
Right, exactly. And it's not about like the, how much something costs. It's more about,
connection.
Yeah. And so I think that people first of all, they don't know what to say.
Right.
And, you know, when somebody's very depressed, you don't necessarily know what to say.
Nope.
And so saying nothing is not as good as saying something. Even if the something doesn't come out right and it's just awkward or whatever, just do it anyway. Like, I've reached out to people that I could see were struggling and said, hey, I see you're struggling. Do you need to talk?
Yeah, I do that too. When people post things on Facebook and I'm like, yeah, their energy's off. I'll reach out, I'll back channel and say, hey, what's going on? You look sad.
Yeah. Yeah. You can, a lot of times, I mean, and if it's more than one, like somebody posts 3 or 4 times and you're like,
something's off.
Right. Then if you reach out to that person, you know, you may not even have a conversation with them. You may just send them a message and say, hey, I saw it. You seem to be struggling. Yeah, I am. And they tell you something and you empathize, right? Yeah. It takes you 2 minutes.
And it might make a world of difference to them because you never know when it hits them.
Exactly.
So let's wrap this up with some of your best advice for how, besides having money in reserve, which is clearly great advice, what other things would you recommend so that if, you know, some health issue strikes you, you're not in such bad shape as an entrepreneur?
Well, developing products that you can sell that don't require you to actively participate.
Okay, so away from the time for money thing if you can.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a course or some kind of productized service that you don't need to be, you know, you don't need to deliver.
Right.
That would be good. Like, do it now. Do it on the days that are good days. Do it when you're healthy. Mm-hmm. I always advise clients to, particularly if they're struggling with chronic illnesses, including mental health issues, to get as much done as you can on the good days.
Yep, maximizing the good days and giving yourself a permission slip if you have to on the bad days is honestly how I get through it. Some days I'm on fire, I'm boom, boom, boom. And some days I'm going for a walk, I'm turning off my phone, and I'm not really good to anybody.
Exactly. So, you know, give yourself the space on those days. I mean, it's raining today, so I don't want to take a walk. But yesterday was beautiful. And I was just like, I need to spend an hour outside in the sun.
Yes.
That's what I need to do today.
Yes.
And even though it was a Monday and everyone's like, you know, it's like the Monday.
Right.
I was like, I'm not feeling this. I need to be outside in the sun. So I sat on my deck for half an hour and didn't talk to anybody. And then I took a walk for half an hour. So
sounds like a plan.
You know, you should build that stuff in, but also realize that even if you don't have a major health issue, you're going to have good and bad days.
For sure.
You will. So don't stress over the bad days. Just, if you need to, you know, read a novel under your comforter and that's half your day, that's okay. Because you're making progress on those other days.
Thank you. That's brilliant and exactly what I would recommend, which is probably why we're such good friends. Exactly. Sarah, thank you so much for your honesty, your strength, and your great advice. It was wonderful talking to you.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, this is Catherine. Thank you for watching this interview of the Depression Discussions, the conversations entrepreneurs need to have. If you want to see more interviews, you can go to depressiondiscussions.com, or please join the conversation on Facebook at Depression Discussions. This is a labor of love for me, bringing this conversation out into the open and out of the closet. My other labor of love is my company, Point A to Point B Transitions, where I help entrepreneurs decide if they want to go into corporate jobs or fix their solo consulting businesses so that they work with clients that they like and make the kind of money they want to make without exhausting themselves and hating their business. If this sounds like you can schedule a 45-minute one-on-one complimentary consultation with me, and I'll help you figure out your right next step. This is Catherine Morgan from Point A to Point B Transitions and the Depression Discussions. Thank you.